Chapter 1, Math Basics. In this chapter, we are going to understand numbers and how to correctly complete basic math operations. Now, a lot of this is going to seem as a review to what you've learned in your math career. However, we're going to relate it to culinary and how it applies to what we're going to do with culinary math, all right? So really, this is going to set the tone just to make sure we're all on the same page of terms and definitions and how-tos, all right? So first off, we're going to talk about fractions. So there are 4 terms related to fractions that we're going to go over. The first one is a proper fraction. So a proper fraction is a fraction where the top number, which we call the numerator, is smaller than the bottom number, called the denominator. For example, 1/2. This is a proper fraction because 1 is less than 2. You've seen other proper fractions when we do our basic measurements in our other culinary classes. 1/4, 1/2, 3/4. This is all part of our standard dry measuring cups. You've seen these fractions before and they're all considered proper. Next, we talk about an improper fraction. We're not as familiar with improper fractions in terms of culinary. However, it's important that you are familiar with it because you will come across improper fractions when we're doing some of our calculations. So an improper fraction is a fraction where the top number, known as the numerator, is larger or equal to the bottom number, known as the denominator. In this case, 28/7. This is an improper fraction because 28 is larger, greater than 7. Next, we have a mixed number. A mixed number is a whole number combined with a proper fraction. So in this case, we have 4 and 3/8. 4 is our whole number, 3/8 is our proper fraction, and they combine. You've seen many mixed numbers when we're doing measurement. 1 and 1/2, 2 and 3/4. So you've seen many mixed numbers, and you will continue seeing many mixed numbers when you do your recipes. Lastly, we're going to talk about lowest term, also known as simplest form. So this is when you reduce a fraction so that the numerator and the denominator have no other common factors. So to do this, you need to simplify the fraction. You divide both the numerator and the denominator by the greatest common factor. So in this case, 14/28, the greatest common factor is going to be 14 because 14 goes into both of them. 14 divided by 14 is 1, and 28 divided by 14 is 2. It can't be simplified any further. So your answer is going to be 1/2. The simplest form of 14/28 is 1/2. Again, the reason why we want you to know how to do lowest term is because you're going to do many culinary calculations where you get a larger number and you're going to have to reduce it to its simplest form or lowest term. Next, we're going to talk about how to convert fractions. So we're going to convert fractions in 2 ways, an improper fraction to a mixed number, and then a mixed number to an improper fraction. So first, let's start with our example of 23/5. So to do this, we are going to take the numerator and divide it by the denominator, all right? Then we're going to find a whole number, use the remainder, and then write it as a mixed number. So in this case, we're going to divide 23, our numerator, by the denominator of 5. So to do that, you just 23 divided by 5, and you're going to get 4 with the remainder. The quotient 4 is the whole number, part of our mixed number. You're going to find the remainder. The remainder from the division is 3. This will now be the new numerator of the fraction part. Then you write it as a mixed number. You combine the whole number with the fraction formed by the remainder and the original denominator. So 23/5 becomes 4 3/5. 4 is the whole number. 3 is our numerator, which carries over, which is our remainder. And then our denominator remains the same of 5. Next, we're going to talk about converting a mixed number to an improper fraction. So to do this, you multiply the whole number by the denominator. So in this case, you're going to take the whole number of the mixed number, which is 4, and you're going to multiply it by the denominator, which is 3, and you're going to get 12. So we've done that for you in the example. Next, you're going to add the numerator. So you're going to add the numerator of the fraction part to 12. So you're going to take 12 plus the numerator, which is 2, and you're going to get 14. You're going to take the result, 14, and that is now going to be our numerator, and you're going to place it over the original denominator of 3. So the result is 14 over 3. Again, if you have any questions, make sure to reference the steps or ask your teacher. Next, we're going to talk about how to solve problems with fractions. So the first example, if you are adding fractions together, they must have the same denominator. So the example here provided is pretty straightforward. 1/7 plus 2/7 equals 3/7. So the denominator is equal, so that denominator remains the same, allowing you to add the numerators together, giving you the answer or the result of 3/7. On the right, you'll see a little bit more difficulty because the denominators are not the same. They're different. 1/8 plus 5/16 equals 7/16. So you need to make sure that you find a common denominator. So the least common denominator here is going to be 16 because 8 goes into 16. So you convert 1/8 to have a denominator of 16. To do this, you multiply both the numerator and the denominator by 2. And you can see 1/8 times 2 is going to give you 2/16. You rewrite the fractions, 1/8 becomes 2/16, and then 5/16 remains 5/16. So you add the fractions together, add the numerators, 2 plus 5 equals 7, and you keep the denominator of 16. Again, if you have questions, make sure you ask your teacher. Next, we are going to solve problems with fractions if you are dividing or multiplying. So the example is 3/4 divided by 1 2/3. So 3/4 is a proper fraction and 1 2/3 is a mixed number. So first you need to convert the mixed number. So you do that by multiplying 1 times 3, which is 1, the whole number, times the denominator of 3 equals 3. And then you're going to take the result, 3, and you're going to add it to the numerator, which is 2, and it gives you 5, giving you an improper fraction, 5 over 3. Next, because we're dividing it, you're going to invert the second fraction, placing the denominator on top of the numerator, so it changes to 3/5. You're going to change the division side to multiplication, and you're going to complete. So 3/4 divided by 1 2/3 gives you that result. And then 3/4 divided by 5/3, which is our second fraction, is going to give us 3/5. So, which gives us 3/4 times 3/5 gives us a fraction that is now proper of 9 over 20. Again, if you have any questions, make sure you reference the steps or ask your teacher. On the right, it's a little bit more simple if you are multiplying fractions with the example provided. The numerators multiply together and the denominators are multiplied together. So 4 over 7 times 3/5. You multiply 4 and 3, which gives you 12, and then 7 and 5, which gives you 35. Next, we're going to talk about decimals and percents. Decimal is a point used to give place value, all right? So a decimal is a number that uses a decimal point to separate a whole number from the fractional part. So you can see right here, 0.25 on the left, that's the whole number, and then 0.25 is the fractional part. And then percent is a ratio of 100, all right, part of 100. So you always multiply to get a percent by 100. So in this case, our decimal is 0.25, and we're going to multiply it by 100, and you get 25%. Now, if you're taking a percent, converting it to a decimal, you're going to take your 30%, which is always out of 100, so 30 divided by 100, and you're going to get 0.30. So on this next slide, you can see the decimal place value chart. So you can see here's the decimal, and all the numbers above the decimal to the left is going to be part of your whole number. All the numbers to the left is going to be part of your fraction. So here is your example, 0.0075. So you put your decimal, and then that first 0 is tenths, That second 0 is hundredths, the 7 is thousandths, and the 5 is going to bring us to the 10,000ths. So to write it as a fraction, you're going to take 75 and you're going to divide it, because that's our whole number, and then we're going to divide it by 10,000 because it brought us to the 10,000ths place value. So you do 75 over 10,000, which the simplest form is 3 over 400 because the common factor is 25, which means 25 goes into 75 and 10,000, bringing it to its simplest form, which is 3 over 400. All right. Again, if you have any questions, make sure you reference the steps or ask your teacher. Now we have our 3 written practice problems. At the end of each chapter, you're going to have 3 practice problems. The practice problems are going to be similar to what you see on your final dual credit assessment. There will be a separate screencast going over how to do each one. Some of you may want to watch it. Some of you may not want to watch it. It's totally up to you. We will discuss them in class. Thank you.